CNBC's Derek O'Brien. Derek, appreciate you joining us on CNBC TV 18. Let me start by asking you on land. The government has now decided to re-promulgate the land ordinance for the third time. You are a member of the select panel. You've had your first meeting. Do you believe that there is any possibility of a breakthrough on the land acquisition bill?
I don't think so. But I can only speak on behalf of Trinamool Congress. See, the joint committee between the two houses, that will carry on its work. But what is not quite right is while the committee is on, this ordinance has been re-promulgated for the third time, and parallelly the finance minister and some other ministers are also having discussions with farmer groups. But on the larger issue of parliament, Shireen, to have a joint session, the government has to either pass the bill in Rajya Sabha, which is impossible,
yes,
or it has to ensure that the bill gets defeated in Rajya Sabha, which will also suit them. But my understanding is that in the monsoon session, this bill will not get defeated in Rajya Sabha. And if it's not defeated in Rajya Sabha, then you can't call a joint session.
So, which means it may not be taken up at all in the Rajya Sabha again
no,
in this
you
session?
can take it up. It's not my prerogative. They can take up the bill, but then when you ask for a division in the Rajya Sabha, electronic voting, at that time the House has to be in order.
At this point in time...
Let me give you a cricketing analogy.
Yes.
It's a team needs 2 points to win in a cricket match. But if it rains, you can't have a match.
So you're
only get 1 point.
You're saying it's going to be a stormy session in that sense?
For the land bill.
For the land bill.
It may not be, because they may not bring the land bill so early. They may do some other... Again, this is purely, it's the government's prerogative what bill to bring or not bill. But on the land bill, we are the only Trinamool voted against the 2013 land bill. So that was the time...
You've been consistent in your position.
Yes. So I don't think the numbers are about 130. So I don't think the government is anywhere close to defeating this land bill.
How do you
As I said, defeating the land bill.
Sure. How do you read the comments that are coming in from the government? You've heard what the Prime Minister has had to say in a bunch of interviews over the weekend as far as the land bill is concerned, suggesting that it's not a matter of life and death. The Finance Minister seems to be saying the same thing, that heavens will not fall if the land acquisition bill eventually doesn't go through. Do you sense a climb down at all now, talking about we'll consult with all political parties, which is what the select panel is anyway doing? Do you feel that there is some sort of a climb down, or, you know, this is public posturing?
I like what Arun Shourie said. He summed it up beautifully when he said, you know, government is doing headline management. I also added to that on the floor of the House and said they're doing HM headline management, but I don't know how much of FM they're doing fiscal management, because the finance minister is also the information and broadcasting minister. Yes. So I think maybe he's a very articulate and accomplished lawyer. So I think he's trying to put a spin on so many things. But on this, I don't know. I'm hearing these statements, but if you like the select committee, for example, informally they're talking about bringing out a unanimous report. If the select committee on land brings out a unanimous report, it will snow on Raisina Hill. You know, so I mean, anyway, it's wishful thinking.
So what happened?
We are very aggressive on land. We are very, very aggressive. Mamtadi's run a 26-day hunger strike. Singu, Tata's, you know the story. You know,
let me ask you this, because this is again the argument that the finance minister has presented, saying that why should a state like West Bengal hold back a state like Maharashtra? If a state like West Bengal wants consent, wants social impact assessment, then let West Bengal put that in. Why include that as part of the central legislation? How do you respond to that?
See, the finance minister of late, he's been saying a lot of things. He even said the Rajya Sabha is irrelevant, or some words to that effect. I mean, that's pretty sad that, you know, someone of the stature of the finance minister, who is also the leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, now if he goes and makes statements like these, actually deep down inside I don't think he's serious about these statements. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because to say the Rajya Sabha, and it doesn't work like that. Our view on land is, we're not even going as far as social impact assessment. We are saying that the consent clause, I mean, you cannot be snatching land from farmers like this. And how many of these projects are actually held up because of land acquisition?
What was the statistic given by the government in the first meeting of the select panel to argue the case for doing away with consent?
So no, the committee has just started, and I can't discuss the proceedings of the committee outside. But what I can, because that's not correct. But what I can tell you is that the Janata Parivar with their 30 seats in Rajya Sabha, the Congress with their 65, the left with their 10 or 12, the Trinamool with their 12, the NCP with their 7. That if you add it all together and if you add up the nominated and all that, it comes to about 130. So where are we going?
So what do we hope to achieve at the end of the select panel's proceedings?
Select panel will call everybody, they will discuss. Nothing will happen because the positions are so, everyone's got their heels, you know, dug in. So I don't think anything is going to happen. And as I said, you can't defeat the bill in Rajya Sabha. You can't pass the bill in Rajya Sabha. So the monsoon session will pass. After that, there's the other rule, of course, that, you know, within 6 months, if nothing gets done. So...
Okay, that's as far as land is concerned. So you're saying that there is no scope for any breakthrough, at least at this point in time. Let me ask you
about... We're going to make it difficult.
You're going to make it difficult, and you have another 100-odd MPs in the Rajya Sabha.
No, and I think the Congress, we've spoken to the Congress about this, and Janata Parivar and everyone I think is
on the same page.
Set, yes.
Okay. Let me ask you then about the GST, because the select panel has been set up on the GST as well. Do you believe that the GST is likely to meet with a better fate and it should find its way through the Rajya Sabha?
As far as, you know, I can't speak on behalf of Rajya Sabha. I can only speak on Trinamool. Trinamool, we had this 3 times in our manifesto. So we are committed to it, and as far as we are concerned, if it comes through fast, in fact, I even suggested on the floor of the House that we should have passed it in the earlier session. But the Congress had some other ideas, which is fair enough.
But were the Congress reservations really serious in your assessment, or do you believe that this is more a sort of, you know, let's play hardball at this point in time?
That you'll have to ask the Congress. But as far as we are concerned, we said this 5 years compensation, which is a good part. Yes. We said keep petroleum out, which is more or less done. And this tobacco is a slight issue as to who can raise the taxes. So in principle, we are on board, and we are the only party, I think, which is on day 1 of our first meeting of the GST. We made these 3 points. And we said, come on, let's get on with it.
So what happens now as far as the proceedings of the select panel are concerned on the GST specifically? I understand that you're going to be touring the nation, so to speak.
No, we are going to Chennai, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, that is.
Because the AIADMK has raised
Kolkata, Mamata Banerjee. AIADMK is seriously opposed. They are in fact strongly opposed.
Absolutely, and they made their position very clear in the Rajya Sabha.
So I don't know what will happen now there in the Lok Sabha, because remember, you have to get 50% of the assemblies also. It's a constitutional amendment.
That's right. So,
but I would say GST, if you're giving it marks in terms of passing, so GST has got, you know, much
8
better.
8 on 10 would be the odds for GST to go through in the monsoon session of Parliament. Let me then ask you about this entire business of devolution, and this has been the big achievement, or at least the government claims it as a big achievement in terms of fiscal cooperation and this fiscal model that they're hoping to put together. You're saying that it's far from the truth. You're saying that what the government has given, it's taken away with the other hand. How do you say that? Because as of today, only 8 centrally sponsored schemes have been done away with. They intend to do more, but as of today, only 8 centrally sponsored schemes have been done away with.
I am willing to debate anybody on this from the government. What is the bottom line? Last year for Bengal, we got 61.87 paise to the rupee from central schemes. From 61.87, it's gone up by 0.9% this year to 62 fraction. If you look at something like police modernization, what do you do with police modernization? My state has some areas which are Naxal or former Naxal infected areas, or Darjeeling, etc., etc. So who's going to fund these projects? Whether it comes to police modernization, then you come to backward region grants. You've taken all this out. So if you really look at the numbers, I must give the government credit on one thing. They know how to package. Their packaging is too good. Doesn't matter, sometimes with such good packaging there's still MSG in it, but you still won't notice. But devolution, no, it's a spin. I can tell you this, it's a spin, and channels like yours must go into the details of this to show that instead of being give, it's become give and take.
You know, but that also puts the onus on states to actually do something to rev up their own revenues. I know that you, like many other state governments, did hold an investor meet, an investor conference and so on and so forth to try and attract investors into the state of West Bengal. You know, we hear about these headlines in terms of the number of MOUs being signed worth lakhs of crores of rupees, and then eventually none of that actually turns into reality. What about the responsibility of the state to actually look at raising its own revenues?
What a great question, because my colleague in Bengal, who was on your channels many years ago in his earlier avatar,
Amit Mitra.
Dr. Mitra, I mean, under Mamtadi's leadership, look at what we've done. The entire, across West Bengal, it's only total e-governance. And B, our tax collections has gone up by over 110%. No increase of taxes, but only because the taxes have gone up because of this e-governance. So we've done a darn good job when it's come to collecting more taxes, but we have this huge debt burden. So to service that, we are under pressure. But in terms of what is happening in West Bengal, rather than me faffing around, let me give you, whether you talk about the service sector growth, whether you talk about GSDP overall compared to national, compared to Bengal, whether you talk of agriculture and allied sectors, whether you talk of industrial output, in all, if you list these down, Shireen, Bengal is 0.2 to 3 points better than the rest of the country. So there's a lot of stuff happening in Bengal. What we perhaps need to do in Bengal is to package it better. But our packaging doesn't really matter at the ground level, because last 4-5 years since we've won elections, we keep winning elections because there's a lot of real seriously good work. Let me give you one example. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. That's actually a Kanyashri program of Bengal. This year the government has allocated 100 crores for Beti Bachao for the country. Is it a joke? Because in Bengal, for that one program, Kanyashri, which is the equivalent, is 1,000 crores. So these are the numbers. So when you look at numbers, you know, I talk about bullet train. Bullet train, we asked in the railway committee, what's the cost of a bullet train? 90,000 crores. This year they've allocated 100 crores for the feasibility. Where is the bullet train? There's no bullet train. So actually it's a, what do you call it? Empty blank. These are shooting blanks. But seriously, on a number of parameters, this government has made these promises. First year there has been no delivery. The next year they have to deliver. Unless the delivery comes...
Why would you say that there's been no delivery? I mean, we've seen a deluge of achievements being put out by various ministries in terms of everything that they've been able to do in the past 12 months. The coal ministry's put out its own report card, the railway ministry, the finance ministry, the prime minister. There's a 3D audio-visual exhibition for the government to...
I have to say, you know, this is like hiring an advertising agency or a great marketing agency, but your product itself is wonky. I really seriously think there's a bigger barometer to judge this. You see all the elections which have happened from May 2014 to now. Those election results haven't, you can do your TV talk shows, you can do your marathon, I saw something where 3 ministers were there. All this is more power to them, they can do all this very big in the social media. But when it comes to the bottom line, why do you go and cut an ICDS budget by 50%, tell me? When you know that out of those 8 crore kids who go to those Anganwadis, 1/3 of those kids are malnourished. You go and cut the budget by ICDS. Everyone in the budget speech mentioned, I don't want to repeat those numbers now, across the figures, on social sector. You look at all the social sector parameters, down. Now, few days ago, Prime Minister at last makes a statement on the social fabric. You know, church was burnt in Delhi, 1st of December. It's now 6 months. Not a single arrest made. What meat you can eat here, what meat you can't eat there. If you don't want to eat this meat, you go to another country. So one is the social sector indices. 2 is the social fabric. Where are the jobs? So lots of buzz. But I honestly believe that it's time now for this government to deliver. Bihar is the next test in November. Bengal after that. But the good thing about Bengal is after the municipal elections, at least the BJP now knows where they are in Bengal. It's a big fight now for 3rd and 4th. Even the Congress is doing better than them in Bengal.
Another issue that may perhaps be taken up in the monsoon session is this business of the government having, through the finance bill, given itself the powers to appropriate unclaimed deposits. Is this an issue that you're going to take up? We understand that money is going to be used to fund some sort of a healthcare scheme for senior citizens.
Yes, that is a cause for concern. But as I said, Trinamool is not going to oppose just for the sake of opposing. Nor will we support, you cannot take us for granted. So the strategy is, as we said, we'll study each bill on its merit and then we'll go forward on this issue, and there's some other issues. As I said, if it eventually is going to benefit the people, I call it, Mamtadi had a nice term for it last week, which chatting informally, she called it our PPP model.
PPP model, yes, Pro-People's Party.
Pro-People Party, I think that is quite cute.
Okay. So that's something that you haven't made up your mind on, whether you will oppose this government's decision to actually give itself the powers to appropriate unclaimed deposits.
And in fact, now after Mamtadi's Bangladesh one-day trip, we are now going on a 5-day trip to big industrial delegation to the UK.
So what kind of investments is the state of West Bengal looking to attract? What is the sales pitch to investors today? And how many of those MOUs that were committed or inked in the previous summit have actually translated into reality?
Lots. Last week, in fact, 1,050 crores order last week. I think the big pitch in West Bengal now, in fact, yesterday, our Chief Minister had a meeting, and the big pitch there was ease of doing business.
Which is the pitch for everybody. So what are you going to be doing that's different? What is going to be the differentiator for West Bengal?
The differentiator for West Bengal is flat structure. I'll tell you what I mean by flat structure, and I can give you 10, 12 examples of how we do flat structure, because the reason is there is land in West Bengal. This hogwash that there's no land available, there's land available in Bengal. We are also, if you take an example, we are also reflecting the market realities. In about 60 or 70 cases, the land was picked up by industrialists at the price. Up in North Bengal, in one specific area in Malda, we had to cut the price by about 50-60%. We did that. So I think the intentions are good. We have a crack team there. Mamtadi is leading from the front. We have, I dare say, one of the most competent industry and finance ministers there, Dr. Mitra. So it's a very, very good team. And things are happening, and I think the turning point was these last few elections in Bengal, because there was a lot of buzz, there was a lot of gas balloon. Is Trinamool over? Now when Trinamool goes and wins 2/3 and 3/4 the number of seats, then people know, okay, from 2016 to 2021, Trinamool is there.
Yeah, but even people are already invested, for instance, in the technology sector, and this was one of the big sort of pitches that the state of West Bengal had made to attract the likes of Infosys and Wipro there. But again, there seems to be confusion on SEZ status being given, not being given, companies moving out,
I'll tell you two examples. I'll tell you two examples. Yeah. SEZ, we're very clear on SEZ. We don't, you know, with Trinamool, the good thing is what you see is what you get. So SEZ's, our status is our position is very clear. Let's take something like Wi-Fi. Do you know Calcutta, there's so much of confusion happening now with this net neutrality telecom. Calcutta is the first city in India with totally free Wi-Fi. Now, we're not telling you that if you use this a particular Wi-Fi network, you will only get 20 or 30. So it's a new beginning in Calcutta. So there are lots of things in new beginning. In Kolkata Municipal Corporation, out of the 140 seats, we won 120. What does that mean, Shireen? That means there is some seriously good work. It's become a garbage-free city in terms of open VATs. There are now compactors there. Now, we do not believe that big industry is the solution to everything. If you look at one figure, MSME, banks, this is kind of your subject. Yeah. Banks, loans, giving loans to MSME. If you look at the percentage of last year over this year, you look at Gujarat, Maharashtra, they've all had a percentage increase of about 30 to 40%. In West Bengal, that figure is crossed 100%. Now you may tell me, no, the base figure was low and that's why it went. But if you look at MSME, that's one of our very strong areas.
So you would much rather bat for the smaller entrepreneur than for the likes of Infosys and Wipro? So you're saying so what is the position then as far as the special economic zone status is concerned for companies like tech companies?
See, listen, the way you guys go on with Infosys, with all respect to them, unka kya tha? They had some, you know, you don't want to lose any business. You don't want any industry to walk out of that. But it's not the end of the world, and our position on SEZ is very clear. Our belief is that you can have industry, you can have pharma. You talk to the guys who started power plants now also in Bengal. They've had no problem with land acquisition. There is a land bank. There is a land bank which has been set up in Bengal.
Before I let you go, let me ask you this in terms of you know, future reforms, and the government has made it very clear that unless and until we actually see the GST Council being set up before August, it's unlikely that GST will be able to meet its April 1, 2016 rollout timeline. Do you believe that we are on course to meet April 1, 2016 as a member of the select panel?
See, the select panel is doing its job. I get the sense that our deadline to present that report is first week Parliament.
Yeah.
I think we are on track. We are very much on track. And Trinamool, didn't even want the select committee. We thought we should have a quick meeting and get it on, but we can understand that some states had some issues. Maharashtra, Shiv Sena had some major issues because that's a 40,000 crore rupee Mumbai corporation. Right. So we understand and appreciate that they wanted the select panel, but I would say odds on that GST is coming through in
the monsoon
session. You see, it suits us also because we also have elections coming up early next year or middle of next year. So this is one of our election promises and pledges. So we are very, very happy. And at the question on GST now, which is only a little bothersome, is we hope we don't go back to some of the points which were already addressed in the earlier meetings with the finance ministers. Now suddenly, if state A and state B, maybe I have access to some information which are, so we don't want those issues again to come up, because then again you're going to go back to the starting gate. We think we should just finish on these 2-3 points.
What could those issues be? Because pretty much the grand bargain has been struck with most states, whether it's giving you that 1% additional levy, whether it's keeping petroleum and so on and so forth. So what could be those issues that are likely to be brought back on the table? Yeah, but from other states.
Now let's say Punjab and Haryana come up with a tax which is only exclusive to Punjab and Haryana.
Okay.
Okay, and there is such a tax.
Yes.
So now, if they make some issue, then they go back again to the starting point, I'm trying to say. But I don't think so. I think, in a sense, the government wants this. Major opposition parties wanted, Congress to obviously would want it. So I think AIDMK, BJD is on board, Trinamool is on board, so everyone is on board. So I think we will see when Trinamool is with you, we'll make it happen. But when against you, we really know how to apply the brakes.
Which is the land bill.
Land bill is going nowhere. You know, it is going, Shireen, it is going nowhere. And I want to end by saying, you know, the Congress informally, a very senior leader of the Congress last week asked me, are you still with us on the land bill? So I said, what are you talking about? I have to rephrase this question. Are you with us on the land? Because Mamta, these views on land and our whole, the take on land and the history of land in the last 10-15 years in India has been driven actually by the Trinamool thinking. That time you may have mocked us, but now this is the reality.
Okay, so land bill going nowhere. Derek O'Brien, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us.